Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Catch set I'm going to talk about the women of Star Wars. Now, back in the original trilogy days, you'd be forgiven for thinking there was only one woman in the entire galaxy, Princess Leia. Certainly seemed to be an all-boys club apart from her. Then obviously in Return of the Jedi, we did get Mon Mothma. But that did seem to be about it. There were those scenes filmed of female X-Wing pilots that didn't make the final cut of the movie. So they happened, but we never saw it. So it did seem like there was one, maybe two, women only in the entire Star Wars universe. Now, obviously, since the takeover of Disney, that has changed considerably. We see, of course, in The Force Awakens, Rey, fantastic character. Captain Phasma, I know she was slightly underutilised in that film, but it's great to see a strong female military leader. And, of course, she is not the only one that exists in the Star Wars canon now, which I will come to later on. And, of course, from Rogue One, we have Jyn, another incredible character. But these are not the only ones that now exist in the canon. These are just the main ones from, of course, the movies. Now, prequel trilogy started to change that, of course. Padme Amidala, for instance, and her female bodyguards, and that was great to see. But since the takeover of Disney, by Disney, of Star Wars and Lucasfilm, we've seen many, many more canonical female characters, particularly women of colour, added to the universe, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm now going to share some of them with you. Now, if you recall from the Star Wars Annual 2, just an ordinary woman trying to make her way in the universe, we have Bash Devane. I mean, yes, she's very muscly, but she's just a dock worker, just an ordinary person. Doesn't want to be involved with the Resistance or the Rebellion or the Empire, just wants to keep her head down, as most of the beings in the galaxy do, of course. Now, obviously, another hugely popular character and a very important one is, of course, Shara Bey, Poe Dameron's mother, and she is an absolutely brilliant character. If you've never read Shattered Empire, I thoroughly recommend it to you. It's not just about her, it mixes in the other main characters as well, and it's brilliant. And in fact, her and Leia go to Naboo and they meet the Queen of Naboo, the current Queen of Naboo. And the three of them end up in starfighters fighting against the Empire during Operation Cinder to protect Naboo, which was brilliant to see. Now, in the Darth Vader comic, one of the best female characters to be added in any context is, of course, sorry, that is, I was going to show you Queen Trios, but of course, Dr. Aphra, and she is just awesome. I absolutely love her. Can't wait to see, can't wait to read the Dr. Aphra comic when it comes out in a collected volume. And they just have now started, I think it's just come out, the Screaming Citadel crossover that's mostly her and Luke Skywalker. So that will be great to see as well. In the Darth Vader comic, as I briefly mentioned there, Queen Trios of Shu-Torun. And she's a great character as well. You know, placed on the throne after Vader and the Murderbots assassinate her father, brother, and sister. So she will be compliant. You remember, they give her that piece of Alderaan, you know, to remind her this can happen to your world too. But yes, she's a brilliant character, a great leader, doesn't take nonsense from anyone. Kill the traitor and all of that. I absolutely loved it. Now, of course, in the main Star Wars comic, there was someone else popped up who caused a lot of problems, and that was Sana Solo, as they thought she was at first, but her actual name being Sana Starros. And there she is there, one of Han's old accomplices from his bad days, shall we say, where she was part of a scam that involved them getting married, but they never went through with it. So that was the only reason why they were supposedly married when they actually weren't. Now, it isn't just people like that, it's just also people like Zaro from the Chewbacca comic, you know? Just a young girl on a planet that's in the middle of nowhere. It isn't any galaxy-spanning adventure, it's just her world in trouble. She's trying to do what she can, and it was great to see her teaming up with Chewbacca. Absolutely loved that. Now, obviously we see Princess Leia here, but in the Princess Leia comic, there was also Yvonne Verlaine, and that is just a brilliant picture of her, and that is very much what she is like the whole time. She doesn't take nonsense from anyone, and she ends up as the princess of, I guess, New Alderaan, as it would be. and she also makes an appearance in Empire's End, I believe it is, which was great to see also. And she's referenced in the propaganda book as well that we reviewed some time ago, where she's essentially in charge of Leia's public image towards the end of the war and in the years that followed when she's in the Senate. Because Leia's got more important things to do to worry about something like her public image, although maybe she should have thought about it a bit more once it became clear, once it became known that Darth Vader was her father. Now, they're not just leaders or soldiers or smugglers, they're also bounty hunters. And one of the great ones from the Lando comic is, of course, Chanath Cha. And there she is, the Emperor's Needle. You know, it's like, I have no needle sharper than Chanath Cha, which was great. That reminded me when I first read it of, it's like an iteration of the Emperor's Hand. I mean, from Legends with Mara Jade, and obviously she's another great character, although not a canonical one, unfortunately. But yes, it was interesting that the Emperor relies on a woman, bounty hunter, to perform the most difficult tasks. Interesting, of course, given the Empire's well-known hatred of aliens, but also its sexism, you would have thought, although they have tried to change that, because there are many female officers in the new canon. Sienna Reed being one, of course, from Lost Stars, but of course, Ray Sloane is possibly the most important one, and she is just awesome. This is her in the Kanan comic, the First Blood one, where she's just a vice admiral chasing down Kanan and the gang. It's her hobby, you know. But it's great to see so many female characters where before there was almost none. And I tell you what, there's none of them as Mary Sue's, you know, which is the big thing that was levied against Rey. If you read the information in something like, say, Rey's Survival Guide and the surrounding canonical material for The Force Awakens, it's quite clear that she's very independent, and she learned all that the hard way growing up on Jakku. She didn't have anyone doing anything for her. Everything she's able to do, she learned herself. No one taught her. As for her Force abilities, that might be a different matter, but as a film called The Force Awakens, you would expect it awakens quite quickly sometimes, as it has done in Rey, and that's probably just a sign of just how powerful that she is, I expect. And I have no doubt there'll be other fantastic characters in due course. Obviously, Emilia Clarke and Thandie Newton are in the Han Solo movie, and I forget the lady who is in The Last Jedi playing Rose, and there'll be others as well in upcoming films adding to this, and it's just fantastic to see that women are a full integral part of the Star Wars universe, because Star Wars is for everyone. It isn't just for boys, it's for girls and for men and for women. I firmly believe that, you know. And the thing about Star Wars is when it moves forward, we all move forward with it, kicking and screaming. In some cases, I'm sure, witness that ridiculous argument over John Boyega's Stormtrooper, for instance, or the whole Rey as a Mary Sue nonsense as well, or the diminishing of Captain Phasma just because she didn't have loads of screen time, you know. I think we're going to see many, many more female characters, and that's exactly what we want. Maz Kanata, there is another one, an alien, of course, and like I say, there's so many, I have probably missed a bunch of them out. For instance, the woman in the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic, who's like the keeper, as it were, of all the ancient knowledge, is an elderly lady. One of the leaders of the two factions on that planet is woman, and one of the main characters teams up with Anakin was a teenage girl. So it's very, very good to see them expanding the horizons just beyond an old boys club, you know, because if it's just the one thing, it's boring, you know. Women have got a huge role to play everywhere, and that includes in the Star Wars universe, and to my mind, this can only be a good thing. What do you think, guys? Do you think it's good that there's now many more female characters in Star Wars? Not just Leia, and then not just Mon Mothma, and then not just Padme. There's a whole range, and they cover so many different areas. Obviously, leaders like Leia and, say, Queen Trios that we see. Rebels, shall we say, like Jyn, although I'd also would class people like Chanath Cha more on her line. And I'm sure there's probably some Saw Gerrera's partisans as well. Then we have Rey as a Force user. There were many Force users, of course, in the Clone Wars who are female, the animated TV show. And we can't talk about that and not mention Rebels and the great female characters there of Hera and Sabine, who are just brilliant. And obviously Mon Mothma appears in that as well. And obviously then you have your military leaders like Captain Phasma, Grand Admiral Ray Sloan, Sienna Ree, and as I said, I'm sure there are many, many others. But that was just my thoughts on the women in Star Wars. And like I said, there's no Mary Sue's in there. It's one of those things that really irritates me when they say that. It's because, like, do you even know anything about Star Wars if you're saying that? You clearly haven't learned the lessons of it. But yes, anyway, that's just my thoughts and my little rant on it, which I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for upcoming topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.